Good afternoon, everyone. Let's do that again. Good afternoon, everyone. It was a muggy May morning in southern Mississippi, and I was meant to brief the President of the United States on the spread of black mold after the largest flood in American history. I was in no way prepared for that moment, so I decided to connect with him in some way that he might relate to. And as the President Bush approached me, I extended my hand and said, Mr. President, a house desecrated by mold is a defiled place to live, and drastic measures have to be taken. Leviticus chapter 14. In Leviticus 14, they sacrificed a bird in a clay pot, but we do things a little differently here at Hands On. And that was the beginning of my meeting with the president down in Mississippi. My time in Biloxi shaped a big part of who I am and set me on a trajectory towards public service and advocacy. I'm Janos Marton, class of 2004, and I'm the Chief Advocacy Officer at Dream.org, an organization committed to closing prison doors and opening doors of opportunity. When Katrina hit the Gulf Coast, a lot of people know about the levees failing in New Orleans. But had those levees not failed, the destruction on the Mississippi coast would have been the biggest natural disaster in American history, and it got a lot less coverage. But following the intelligence of a classmate of mine from Dartmouth, a number of us who either weren't in love with our jobs or didn't have them went down to Biloxi, Mississippi, where we lived in tents at the back of a Methodist warehouse, working at the largest secular relief group in Mississippi. We gutted houses to their studs so they could be rebuilt. We remediated houses for black mold. We sent out teams of social workers. We even had an animal rescue team that would go and rescue puppies and kittens that had been left without owners during the storm. And one day they came back with 36 puppies who ended up living with us on the camp. It was a great time, but an extraordinarily difficult one too. Every day we went out and worked with people who had lost everything and had to figure out how to piece their lives back together. But there were also moments of adventure. There was one time when a government official, and we worked very closely with the local Mississippi government to do this work, he reached out to me and said he had a unique problem that he thought our team of anarchist vagabonds could do something about. And he drove me out to a remote part of the Gulf Coast where there was a giant pirate ship lodged into the ground at a 45-degree angle. I wasn't really sure what I was seeing. Apparently, it was a floating casino that had been destroyed during the hurricane, and it was about to be blown up. But first, they wanted to see if they could salvage it for things that the community could need, tables, chairs, lamps, all kinds of things that were on that casino barge that hadn't been accessed since the storm. So I talked to my team, and it was very difficult, dangerous, kind of backbreaking work. So they had a condition. They would do it if they had an hour a day that they could spend on the pirate ship taking whatever booty they could from it. And so they would work from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., getting things for the community, lowering them down off levees and ropes. And then from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., they would just ransack this pirate casino and come back with pirate gear and treasure chests and bottles of liquor that hadn't been touched since the storm. As you can imagine, this was popular with the Dartmouth alums who were down there working. Dartmouth had a really important role in the Katrina recovery, and including the specific program I was a part of. I was really happy. I was walking around Collis last night, and I was really happy to see that former Dean Holly Satay actually has a social justice award named after her now. She was a great dean and somebody I worked very closely while I was here. And her brother was the city inspector of Biloxi, Mississippi. So this is before GPS. So when the storm knocked down all the street signs, people literally didn't know what street was what. And so Bob knew all of the city street intersections in the back of his head. So we drove around with him and put up new street intersections to basically allow people to drive around again. Dartmouth ended up sending wave after wave of volunteers down to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. The Tucker Foundation, which is kind of the predecessor organization of DCSI, sent people every vacation and made a big difference in their contributions. As for me personally, being in the Mississippi Gulf Coast was one of those environments where help was needed in every direction, so any way that you want to raise your hand, you'd be able to do something meaningful. I had always cared about politics and governance while I was up here, so I worked as the intergovernmental liaison between our organization, the mayor of Biloxi, Mississippi, Senator Thad Cochran, the Republican U.S. Senator, ministers who were doing work to rebuild their churches, Parks Department people who were rebuilding their parks, and that really gave me my first crash course into how government worked and how to work with people across all different ideologies and backgrounds at the local level. I left Biloxi a changed person. There's 4 lessons I think I impart from Biloxi. The first is that the past isn't even past. Oh, I messed up that Faulkner quote. Who knows it? The past isn't dead. It isn't even past. Being down there in Biloxi was a real demonstration of the social inequity that haunts this country. It's no surprise that the communities that were hurt the hardest were the Black and Vietnamese communities. Their communities were the most destroyed, and that's where the recovery took the longest. And even driving around those neighborhoods years after, you can still see evidence of the destruction. And it just goes to show that in this country, places that have been historically discriminated, marginalized, continue to face problems today. That leads to the second lesson learned, which is, as a young person, whether you're a student now or a young alum, you can learn so much more about yourself and get so many more opportunities when you put yourself in a place of discomfort. New York, DC, Boston, these places will always be there. But as I think you heard from several of our panelists here, you can learn so much more when you put yourself in a position where you have to stretch yourself and learn how to thrive in a different environment. Third, young people are ready to lead when they're given the trust and the opportunity. When we were down in Biloxi, almost the entire operations of this 200-person-a-day outfit was run by people 25 and under. And that was partly because nobody else really wanted to live in a tent in Mississippi, but it just went to show that we could get great things done. And I think in this moment that we're in now, we really need a passing of the baton to a new generation of leadership, and we need more young people to step into their leadership to get us out of the mess that we're in. And then last, it taught me a lasting lesson on common ground. You know, like I said, even as a very lefty New Yorker coming down to Mississippi, I was able to work closely with Republican offices down there. I was able to work with Baptist ministers and Vietnamese business owners. And it really imparted on me that no matter how different you are, if you're achieving a common purpose, you can work with people of all backgrounds. And at dream.org, I've worked with Republican legislators to pass criminal justice reform at the federal and state level all over the country. So I'll close with 2 thoughts. Dartmouth has always been a challenging place to be an activist. You know, it's not Berkeley, and that's even more true today. And what I would say to the students who are staring down that challenge is that it's a useful warm-up for the real world. I think if you can figure out how to thrive as an advocate for whatever you believe in here, whether it's a campus issue, a local issue, or an international issue, that will serve you really well in the real world. So embrace that challenge and that difficulty. And then second, you know, these are unprecedented times that we're living in right now. These are somewhat dangerous times, I'd say. And there's going to be a lot of brilliant speakers who have already spoken today and who are coming up. And I'll just say, you know, speaking as an adult in the field, we don't have the answer to how to get out of this, right? We have a lot of clues. And I think there's a lot of clues that you can pick up on at this conference. But at the end of the day, it's going to be bold, brave, and creative solutions that are going to get us to where we need to go next. And that's going to come from the next generation of people who take the lessons that we have to share and turn them into your own purpose. So on a final note, I just want to shout out Guillermo Olivos, 05, who was my partner in crime down there. And, you know, were he still with us, he would definitely be in this room today. So thank you very much.